Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you. I'm always happy when Nita and Ellie ask me to help out with these because I just enjoy introducing people to our community. A little bit about what I do is I work with the students on like sort of the student experience and things like that. I've worked at Georgetown in numerous roles over the years, so I know the community very well. And as far as our panel today, this is really about anything. No subject is off limits. So really ask the hard questions, and we're happy to sort of engage and talk a little bit about our community. So now I would like to ask our current students, not for much longer, but our current students to introduce themselves. If you guys could each tell us your name, what your undergraduate degree was, and what brought you here to the MIM program.
Sure, I can start. So thank you so much for that introduction, Brian. As Brian said, we are happy to have you here. And, I just want to personally say congratulations for all of your hard work over the past year and for getting into this program. I know it's an unprecedented time, but hopefully you were able to celebrate in some capacity with family and friends. So my name is Tanatswa Mapondera, and I completed my undergraduate at UC Berkeley, where I was studying political economy and environmental economics. So both of those disciplines are very theory-based. And by the time I was a senior, I really wanted to get into something that was a little bit more practical. So I moved to DC right after graduating to live with my brother and to start a job here. And it was really then that I started to get interested in pursuing an advanced degree. And after speaking with people like Nita, I think I spoke with her about 6 times throughout the admissions process. But I just got to learn more about this program, and really it stood out from the rest. It stood out from the rest. Sorry about that. Just because of the curriculum, I think it's very comprehensive in terms of the skill set that you can gain. I think that this is going to make you a very competitive applicant for any job field that you decide to go. And for me, that career interest was between strategy, finance, and entrepreneurship. And at the end of the program, I really feel like now I'm very multifaceted, very versatile. So that sort of sums up why I decided to come to Georgetown.
Thank you.
Okay, I can go next. So first of all, I'd like to tell you all congratulations for being accepted, and we hope to see you on campus next year. We'll make sure to visit you guys and maybe congratulate you in person. So my name is Alaeddine. I'm from Lebanon, and I did my undergrad in psychology in the American University of Beirut. After that, I applied to the program right after, and I came here because I was interested in business. So in psychology, I was actually interested in the field of consumer psychology, and I wanted to get some hands-on experience to be able to start a job in business. And I came here because of the diversity of the program, of the students, of the courses that we're taking. It was also great to know that it's located in Washington, D.C., obviously, which is a very broad city with like multinational companies and students from all around the world. And when I came here, I was lost between having a career in marketing or consulting. And this program, well, it prepared me well. And I'm going to be joining PwC after the program in Dubai. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah Evans. It's nice to see all of you or some of you on video. So I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, and I studied economics and political science. And I was actually in DC for a year before this program doing government-related work. And I realized I kind of wanted to pivot my career more towards like a business, private sector career, which I know I've talked to a few of you and you're in the same shoes as me. So I loved that Georgetown was in the city of DC. There are a ton of opportunities here, and I really have been successful finding internships here. I've had them throughout the program, and that's something I wanted to be able to do. And then, as Lean said, it's a super diverse university and program. I'm the boring one, like Lean's from Lebanon. Some of my other friends are from Pakistan, or I mean, Palestine and Pakistan, and Italy. So that's just super interesting to me, and it's something I've never been able to be a part of, and I'm learning so much from everyone. So I'm sad that it's over. I actually still have one more project to do. It's not over for me, but I'll be around in DC, so I'll probably see you all on campus. I'll come and speak and help you guys start your careers.
Well, thank you very much to all of you. Like I said, I'd really encourage any of you to submit questions through the chat or just raise your hand and feel free to ask those. So maybe just sort of to start off with, just to get into your academics, I'd really like to hear from the current students about your academics. Could you speak to maybe what was your favorite class and who was your favorite professor and why did you enjoy that class? What did you get out of it?
Sure, I can take that question, Brian. So that's actually a very difficult question because I think I enjoyed all my classes and I think very fondly of all of my professors. But if I was to narrow it down to one, it would probably be lean startup principles. I really enjoyed this class because over the course of 6 weeks, we learned how to build a business from scratch, sort of getting into the methodology, some of the interesting concepts such as proof of concept and being able to market it. And then, of course, the most important, how to eventually scale that business and make it profitable. And the teachers were fantastic, very charismatic people, but they were also very respected. They were some of the first employees at AOL, and they've both gone on to create very successful startups. So that was just interesting to hear from them firsthand what it's like to actually run a business. And, you know, at the time, I never thought that entrepreneurship would be something that I would go on to do. But now, myself and another person in the cohort will be participating in Georgetown's summer launch program, which is an incubator for students to scale their businesses in the early stages. So that's just a prime example of how some of the things that you learn in class, some of the things you can get from this program can eventually end up helping you pursue your career goals right off the bat.
Thank you. Hannah, Lean?
Yeah, so as I said, I was interested in marketing, so it wouldn't be a surprise to say that marketing was my favorite course. It's taught by, I think, Professor Karthik Ishwar, who you guys are going to meet or at least see today. And the reason why is that it gave me a broader understanding of marketing and how managers and employees think of the thought process that they go through in order to know what decisions to take. We moved on from the basic marketing, and one more thing that was very helpful is that we digged into the marketing analytics. So it was both qualitative and quantitative, which prepared me to tackle some business decisions and hopefully prepared me well for my job for next year.
Hi, sorry, I thought my camera was on earlier, but apparently it wasn't. So my favorite classes, I think, I have a few. I liked our accounting and finance classes. Our professors they kept it very interesting, and we were all kind of at different levels for the subjects, and they were able to sort of bring up the people who had less experience and sort of keep the people with more experience involved. And even over Zoom this past mod, I learned a lot in the finance class, and it was hard for me, but I'm glad I was able to experience it. And then I really liked a class called Managing the Enterprise. It's sort of like a human capital management class, and that's something I'm interested in for my career. And our professor's name is Brooks Holtum, and he's very renowned in that area. And I'm actually doing research for him outside of school right now, and continuing that a little bit past graduation. So yeah, all the classes though, I've learned so much, and they've been very interesting, and we get a good mix of group work too, so you can get to know your classmates and really stretch yourself.
Thank you very much. I think Hannah brought up a really good point of being able to do some research with Professor Holtum. I mean, one of the great things about our community in McDonough is that our professors are so accessible. You know, one of the things is that in a lot of places, it's not standard practice to be able to really get to know your professors and get to work with these people that are world-class leaders in their field. So, for example, like Tanatswa was talking about lean startup principles. Professor Jimmy Lin, he's a leader in the startup community here in Washington D.C. He works very closely with Ted Leonsis and the Washington Capitals and the Washington Wizards and things like that. And so I think one of the most positive things about our community is that you really get that access. So I'm really glad to hear a lot of those things you guys were adding about that. In addition to your professors and your academics, could you speak a little bit more to your community? What was the cohort experience like? What was the McDonough community like? One of the things I always love to tell people is that in McDonough, I mean, learning from your professors, well, that's a given. But the great thing about us is that you're going to learn from the person that you're sitting next to. We have such a variety of people, and diversity is one of our strengths. So, Tanatswa, Hannah, Lean, tell us a little bit more about your community. Who are the people, and what have you learned from them?
Yep. So as Brian said, the community was incredibly diverse. Myself, I grew up in four different countries. I was born in Zimbabwe, and I've lived in South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. And we have people in the cohort who are from Lebanon, people from China, people here from the U.S., people from Iran. So just having that diversity of thought, having multiple different people who have lived in different places, really does contribute to a holistic learning experience. And I really think that brought us together. There were a lot of fun activities, cultural activities that we ended up exploring together, whether that's getting food, whether that's going to see a different type of movie. And I think as a graduate student, that's really important, because sometimes people have this mindset that you're there just to read books all day, get your degree and leave. And I really think that's what makes McDonough special, is that from day one, when you get there, you're constantly being encouraged. You constantly have that opportunity to expand your networks, whether that's professionally or whether that's socially. And I really do think that that has made this a very enjoyable year.
Great.
So adding to what Tanatswa said, it was actually also, I was born and raised in Lebanon, and I also lived in Kuwait, which are both Arab countries. And therefore it was such a great experience for me to come here and meet people from all around the world. People I didn't think I'm gonna meet. I never thought that I'm gonna see people from these countries. So it was a very exciting experience. And since Tanatswa talked about the diversity of the cohort, I'm gonna talk a bit about the the links we had with the McDonough community from a broader perspective. So being able to connect with other students from other classes, like the MBA students, was a great opportunity for us. They helped me personally a lot with preparing for consulting interviews, with guiding me through the program. That's for one. Also for the students in my cohort, it was amazing to meet them. We always helped each other. We were there for each other. There was never competition, like real competition between us. It was more of a teamwork, a group work in order to succeed. And in general, being able to connect with the McDonough society and community, like the professor was professors, it was very helpful. I was able to connect with many professors and ask lots of questions, get a lot of experience from them. And I was a teaching assistant for Professor Karthik as well, which gave me a lot of experience. It was just in general a beautiful experience that, I think I'd do it all over again if I could.
Great, thank you. Anna?
Yeah, so from day one, the whole cohort was kind of just everyone's invited to everything, even through the end. We had surprise parties where the whole class showed up for people. People post in our WhatsApp group anytime they're doing something, and that's just a great way to get to know different groups of people. And I went to a tiny all-girls private school for high school, and I loved it because it was 29 of us, and I knew everyone's first name, last name, where they're from, and that's how this is. And I think that's just the best way to make like lifelong connections, is to be that close with a group of people. And then McDonough as a whole, kind of like Lean said, I think it's really beneficial to be exposed to some of the MBAs. They have more work experience, and they're always willing to meet with you, network with you, give you advice. One of my mentors was in the MBA program. She just graduated. Um, and I think they're always at events around. We're invited to all their events and speakers, their social events on Thursdays. Um, and I think there's just so much going around in the business school. You could sit there and just meet new people all day long. And everyone's open to doing that. And I think that's just as beneficial for your life and career as the classes.
Thank you. I really appreciated that last point about like your life and your classes. I think that we really do our best at McDonough to take a holistic look at this. Like it's not just like what you're doing in those hours you're in the classroom. It's a whole experience and it's a whole community. So this is great. We got some questions. Well, tough question right off the bat. If I could ask, how easy was it to get into the program, considering your diverse undergraduate backgrounds? And what would you say is your greatest challenge that you faced during the program?
Right. So to kind of start off with the second part of your question, I would say the most challenging part of this program is sort of uh, keeping balance. You're going to have a lot of work. It's a 1 year program, so from day one, you're kind of expected to be very quick on your feet. This is actually when you will have the most classes that you'll be taking at any one given time. And really, the concepts that you're going to be learning are very fascinating, very interesting. So it's just giving yourself enough breathing room to, of course, do all the work, but at the same time, take it easy and realize that there's more out there that you need to be doing. I know a lot of you are going to come into this program really concerned about what your career prospects are going to be like. So this is also just an important time to just evaluate what works for you, what you really want to prioritize. And yeah, that's been a constant kind of struggle or challenge for me. But really, I think those two things are very complementary. And again, that just speaks to the McDonough experience. There's always that time, that help for you to, of course, your professors want to make sure that you excel in your classes, but at the same time, you have great options such as career services. You always have companies that are coming to campus, coming to McDonough, giving out free swag, giving out free food. So yeah, just finding that perfect balance and making the experience worthwhile is something to look for.
Great, thank you.
I'd say getting into the program was very exciting, especially that I didn't expect it. Having a psychology background, it was kind of challenging, but I'm glad I made it. Some parts that I struggled with in the program actually were two things. One I'd say was the quantitative part because my background is purely qualitative, but again, thanks to the professor, great community, and the standards of teaching were really perfect, very high, and they were adapted exactly to teach all levels. So it was very helpful and it was a very smooth transition. And now I think I have the skills I need to go on with my career and life. Also, about the challenges you might have is again balancing, like Tanatswa said, always on campus. There's lots of recruitment events, lots of coffee chat, lots of I don't know, just meetings in general that you would like to take part in, participate, see different experts in different domains that you might be interested in, but you also have to manage your studies and just keep your grades high, I'd say. So it's important to have a good study hangout balance that you need to take care of.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start with the most challenging aspect, like Lean and Tanatswa said, is balancing things. I had an internship throughout the entire program in the mornings, and then I also would nanny and babysit a lot on the side. Um, and then also doing the whole job search, especially in the fall, that was extremely difficult. There was a week where I had 2 midterms and 6 job interviews. But I think in the end, after that week, I got through it. I was fairly successful with all of it. And I think it just helped me grow to be a better person. And I think you're going to have weeks like that in your career. And then you're also going to have things in your personal life when you're older too, like kids and a family. um, and you just have to learn how to balance your time and get through it. And I think that helped me grow a lot as a person. And then let me scroll here. Um, yeah, so my undergraduate background was in economics, and people always told me that I was a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And that's kind of what I did feel like I was missing. I didn't have any of those technical business skills that a lot of companies are looking for. And once I started to get these skills, especially, some of the Excel skills I know, Python, SQL, and just general like business terms I didn't know before, I found that it's very easy for me to get from or to get an interview or even get from like that phone screen to the first round and the second round interview. I've been pretty successful in that, I would say. Um, so I think this program just complements any undergraduate degree and it helps you really stand out. And I've had a lot of success getting interviews and getting through them because people are very impressed with this program, as I found.
Right. And just to add on to that a little bit, Brian, if I can, definitely doing this program is complementary. So it's for you to use both your undergraduate and your master's degree to become more competitive in front of an employer. I've had situations where employers ask me about, or are actually more interested as well in what I studied in undergrad because they see that as a point of difference, something on top of what they can get with other applicants. The fact that I have this whole other discipline, this whole other line of thinking that can help them in their efforts. So definitely, again, it's the whole picture. You're just adding to your profile and making yourself a lot stronger.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to look at the flow of some of the questions and things like that. So if I don't get to yours right now, I will get to it in a few minutes. But I did want to ask you, the current students, a little bit more about your experience, but also outside McDonough. We have a great community here, and we've already talked about, and you talked about a little bit earlier, how Washington, D.C. is just a really great place to live. It's a great place to network. Could you speak a little bit about your experiences of living here? What was it like to live here in Washington, D.C.? And maybe what was your favorite sort of DC experience? What is something that you did that you couldn't have done anywhere else?
Sure, I can start. So, as Dean Bardia was saying earlier, Washington, D.C. really is sort of this wonderful international hub that's right at the heart, of the U.S. And one thing that I think you get here is this is a very relationship-driven city. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to connect with people at LinkedIn, and just set up time to go on coffee chats, talk to people from the World Bank, talk to people in consulting. And I think this is a very rewarding experience because people are actually willing to take time out of their day to talk to you and help you with whatever your aspirations might be. So really just, outside of the classroom, I do think that that's definitely an added value of one, the alumni connection that Georgetown itself gives you access to, but also just everything else that you can get out of being in Washington D.C. It's also just a great place to, I think, hang out, learn a lot of history about the U.S., whether that's visiting the Library of Congress or going to the different museums that are there. So again, that just makes this a lot more of an exciting place to study and do your master's degree.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Tanatswa really nailed it there. I moved to DC right after undergrad. I love this city, um, especially for people who love learning, meeting new people, kind of nerds at heart, history buffs, anything like that. But also, if you're social, there's a lot to do as well. Um, but just with our program, we got to go to the World Bank, um, and that was really cool. We went to private sector places too. We went to like a real estate company, Sirius XM. We could just be exposed to anything you could imagine is in DC. And then sort of events on the side. We had an embassy event, um, and that was cool. I know I didn't go to that. Unfortunately, I couldn't go, but everyone got to go to an embassy and kind of talk to the diplomats and learn from them. And then we went to like a basketball game. So you have all these social events as well. It's just a great city. I might be biased because I moved here before the program, but professionally and personally, you'll grow a lot here.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to add much to it, but I'd say that it's such a beautiful place to be in. You're surrounded by knowledge, surrounded by fun, surrounded by a lot of things. And the thing I liked most about it was that it wasn't as fast paced as New York, where I couldn't get anything done and I was always overwhelmed. But it's also not a boring city where you have nothing to do and you just stare at your wall 24/7. So yeah, it was just amazing to be here, and I loved it.
Great, thank you. We got a really good question here. It looks like that's from Silja, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a good one. It's very wide open. What has been your most rewarding experience here in the program? I don't think we should limit that. Just what has been the one thing that was just really rewarding in your time here at McDonough?
Right. So I think it's just very exciting to get to learn new concepts, new ideas. I'm a big learner. So just being able to come to Georgetown, come to McDonough, have classes taught to me by renowned professors, and just sort of immerse myself in a completely different discipline was definitely something that was rewarding and fulfilling for me.
Great.
Yeah, I think kind of going off what Tanatswa said, having a lot of the guest speakers who are super high up in companies come to our classes and lecture us, it was super rewarding. It just kind of showed that they see a lot in us, and it was worth their time to come teach us for an hour and a half of their day. I think that was super rewarding. And also, kind of going back to the cohort experience, how supportive everyone was, and how genuinely like excited I was to hear that some people in my class, get an interview or do a networking call. Even it's just everyone lifts you up constantly. Um, and everyone's there to help, edit emails, edit your resume, everything like that. It was a great experience.
Great.
What was very rewarding for me was actually just through the whole year going through different job applications, working hard to get for the recruitment process. It was actually fun going through it all, and just at the end getting the job that I wanted. And something else that was very rewarding was the fact, of course, with my classmates, the diversity and everyone kind of gave this program an edge. And just to know now that we all have an edge in this program because we have different undergrads, but we also have the skills we need in business in order to tackle certain problems that we might face, and we have the knowledge to solve these.
So here's another question, sort of along the lines of how you've grown. It says, how would you say you've changed as a professional from your undergrad work experiences to your work experiences being in the program? I think that's a really good one about how you've grown in your time here at McDonough.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really good question. I think a big difference for me is that after graduating from undergrad, I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. So getting the opportunity to come into a program like this, where it's very comprehensive, and you kind of get exposed to many different areas, you get to pick, and you get to see not only what you're good at, but what you're interested in. And I think that's really important. I think that that's what's going to be what drives you and what helps you get ahead in whatever career path you decide to take. And yeah, that was a big kind of turning point for me, was kind of realizing that, perhaps I'm better off doing one thing over the other. And that's definitely something that has kind of shaped up what I want to do in the future. So really just looking at it from that perspective, I think has been a big change between undergrad professional me and kind of where I'm at right
now. I agree with Tanatswa. I also came to the program kind of lost between which industry I would like to go to and where I would like to where I see myself in a year. And the best thing about the program is that that was okay. They didn't expect us to come in knowing what we want exactly and where we're headed. So they kind of guided us through the whole thing. And if I wanted to highlight exactly what's the difference between undergrad and now, I'd say is that through the program you just learn how to become more professional, the way you talk, the way you email people, the emails you draft in general, the way you address other people, the way you dress, everything just changes your whole perspective on things, and you become more ready to just work in the future. And yeah, that's it.
Great.
My answer is super similar to Tanatswa's. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to get out of what I was doing. After graduation, it wasn't for me. And it actually did unveil. I thought maybe I wanted to go into like something very finance related, and that after taking the classes that I uncovered while I enjoyed the classes, that's probably not the path for me. So that's, you learn what you want to do and what you can do and maybe what you don't want to do. So but it's still good to have all the skills, and it really help you stand out in your job hunt.
Great. Thank you very much. So it looks like we have a couple questions here that are sort of along the same lines. Someone asked Tanatswa about your Lean Startup Principles course, and it talks about how to build a business from scratch, but did it include classes on startup advisory and raising capital? And then this other person, Cameron, asked Lean, what skills the program helped you learn that will prepare you most for the consulting career? So maybe we could take those two and just sort of make that a little broader and just say, what are some hard skills that you took out of this? What are some things that you took from the classroom and you said, I'm going to use this in my job?
Right. So I guess I can kind of speak to the first. In terms of hard skills, well, I just finished an elective called New Product Development and Forecasting. So that pretty much teaches you how to kind of come up with the assumptions that you need to put into an Excel model. It's called a Bass diffusion model, and estimate how likely your product is to succeed and how many new customers you're likely to have. So this is something that I'm going to be using in the next couple weeks as I build out this product, as I try to estimate, is this thing going to be successful? To kind of address your question, it didn't really focus on startup advisory and raising capital, but as kind of Brian and everyone else has been kind of mentioning, it's been amazing to work with these professors. We actually asked Brooks Tolton, we brought him up multiple times, to be on our advisor board. One of the classes you're going to take is called Consulting Methods and Models, and it's actually taught by an ex-managing partner of McKinsey in DC, and he's also on our advisory board. So that just goes to show how, what you learn in the class, it doesn't really end there. And fortunately, McDonough has a great kind of network of alumni, of professors who are willing to help you kind of take your learning and turn it into something that's a lot more.
So yeah, thank you, Cameron, for your question. I'd say we had a class that's called consulting, as Tanatswa just mentioned it, and that was very helpful in preparing me for the consulting career. What we did in it was mostly tackle very broad questions with not a specific guided way to go through them. So we had to build our own structure to tackle these questions, and it was very interesting to see how you do that. Also, something that was very helpful was the Excel skills that I gained from that class specifically. How you, in general, consulting includes a lot of Excel sheets work, and if you're not ready for it, then you'd be very lost. Also, the program offered different Excel classes, so just workshops in Excel to give you the needed experience or skills you need to be ready, which were very beneficial. These gave me like a lot of advantages. And I would say that the coding classes, learning how to code in R, SQL, Python, all of these, also putting them on the CV was very beneficial. and learning how to do them was also gave me a great edge. So I remember very well in my consulting interview, they asked me if I knew how to do that. And well, the fact that I said yes was very impressive, and they were very impressed. So yeah, I'd say these are the skills that I use most in order to get into that field.
I'll jump in, even though those were addressed to Tanatswa and Lean. Um, I'll answer to. I did some interviews for consulting and got an offer at a company. I'll say so. The consulting class in general, it showed you kind of just a way to think how to be a consultant and take these super broad problems and kind of present them in an understandable way. Um, and I think with consulting too, we almost have a leg up because you have a more unique background, not just a classic just business undergrad. We have this on top of whatever background you already have, even if it is business, it sets you apart, um, and just shows that you know how to tackle problems from different perspectives than the classic business undergrad way. And then very specific skills. I have an internship this summer. I actually am kind of looking into a career in data analytics and data visualization. And I'm in an elective right now, and I'm doing Excel VBA coding and macros. And I will say that's probably how I got the internship. They were very impressed that I knew macros. And then, like Lean said, we learned the basics of SQL, Python, and R, and that was amazing because it showed me that that's something I can do. I never thought I could do something like that, and I'm actually pretty good at it, and I want to do it as my career. So over the next month, I have free when I finish my last project for this program. I'll be continuing my learning with that now that I have a good base of it, and I'm gonna um, kind of try to master it and do a couple hours a day of that and really set myself apart.
Just to go ahead, Lane.
Brian, I just want to add, so Tanatswa and Hannah, they both talked about their electives, and I have no idea how I forgot to talk about mine. I actually loved it. It was data visualizations, and I actually got to learn Tableau. And now I can create like very nice graphs, kind of get a bunch of data and just put it in the most simple way in order to present it for managers or recruiters or whoever I'm presenting for. And yeah, that was a very helpful class that I advise you all to take because it's just a new skill that is very valuable to have.
I'm very jealous that she got into that class. I slept through the registration time, so I couldn't get into it, but I liked mine too. And I'm going to self-teach Tableau in my free time. Now that I have these like basic skills down, I know I can do it myself. So very jealous of her.
And I will say to sort of add on to some of these points, one of the great things about our program is, being that you're going to have classes most days or most weeks, Monday through Thursday. We have time on Fridays. We have times in the evenings. We can plan a lot of outside workshops. We can plan them ad hoc. And I'm very willing to work with you. Students will come to me and say, Brian, I am interested in, you name the piece of software. And we can have conversations about that. And the more that sort of we can build traction with those sorts of things, we can really mold that and shape your experiences. So, speaking to Lean about that Tableau in that course, I'd love to talk more to you about perhaps doing something with Tableau outside the classroom, because I know that's a really useful skill to have. So I think that one of the great things as well about our leadership is we're all ears. We want to hear what you have to say and what things you think will enhance your experience. So we are starting to run short on time. I want to be really mindful of the fact that you guys get an opportunity to sort of take breaks here and there. So we only have a few more minutes. So what I'd like to ask each of the students right now is, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself a year ago? What is one sort of thing that you wish that you knew before you started this program, that you could give that advice to the students here?
Right. That's a fantastic question, Brian. I would kind of boil it down to three things, and this mainly focuses on the career or the job hunt. The first is just being prepared. So that goes without saying, but it's really just knowing all the deadlines and starting months in advance. You can never prepare enough. Um, so get started as early as you can. The second is networking. We've constantly repeated that Georgetown has a fantastic network of alumni. Just reach out to them. I remember when I was interviewing for consulting and got an interview with MB, I think it was definitely through, the coffee chats that I had had with an alumni. So that actually has more weight than most people might give it. You never know. And then the third thing is just ask for help. This can be with your professors, or it can also be with your classmates. I remember spending hours, days, studying for consulting cases with Lean. We would get to McDonough early in the morning and just, grind for 4 hours on end, just going back and forth. And I really think that helped me and my search, Lean. I hope it helped you. But yeah, those are sort of three things that I think are very important going in.
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize what Tanatswa said, the recruitment for consulting for those of you who are interested, and I think investment banking as well, is usually in October and November. So you guys have to be aware of these deadlines and kind of keep up to date in order to not miss your chances. Also, I'd advise people to start preparing a bit ahead of time, because once you have your interview, that's it. You don't have time to prepare then. You'd be very stressed. One thing that I'd say I'd give myself as an advice was that GPA is not the only thing you need to care about. So I would advise myself and you guys to do all the readings, really engage in the conversations in class, learn from the professors, not only in order to ace your exam, just like really from the experience they have, the passion they have towards the subject they're teaching. And I mean, sure, GPA matters, you need that, but it's not the only thing. So just try to learn from the program and, yeah, benefit from that. That's my advice.
Yeah, I have very similar advice. I went to an undergrad school where the business school recruiting was extremely competitive. So I did know coming in. So I was able to start reading, case in point, and starting to prepare for case interviews super early, not even just for consulting. I kind of recommend that for everyone because more and more companies are doing that now. Or just even the internship I have this summer, they randomly threw in like kind of a market sizing case interview question, which was kind of unexpected, but I was ready to do it because I've had a ton of experience. And like Lean said, you're not going to have that much time. When we start, you have full days of school, so like 8 hours of school plus social events and teamwork in the evening. So you're not going to have as much time when school starts at all. And then you get the interview, you find out like a week before, and sometimes that falls when you have two midterms and then you have two case interviews as well that week, like I did. So just use your summer to the best that you can, even if you don't know if you want to go into consulting. Just study interviews and start networking. And then, luckily, as Lean said, I'm not that grade focused. I'm not that big of a perfectionist when it comes to that. So I think Lean's advice was great, though. Like, do the readings and come prepared, because that's how you're going to learn the most, especially in the beginning. Um, I do wish I participated more, pushed myself there. I think my advice would to just be prepared for every class so you can get the most out of every class. Even if you don't have that much spare time, just do your best.
Well, thank you very much to our current students. Thank you very much for taking the time. And I do just want to say it's a real pleasure to be able to introduce people to the McDonough community. I always enjoy these. And so I'm sure that they'll circulate my email address. Happy to answer any questions. Like I said, I've been around Georgetown a while, so I could answer a lot of them. Yeah, we really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. I think we got to most of the questions. There were a couple people who asked questions about careers, and I really thought that that would be best answered by our Director of Career Services, Patrick Devaney. So I think he's speaking to you at 11 o'clock. So again, thank you very much for this, and I look forward to seeing all of you on campus. Thank you.